When you're planning out a software release, it's important to identify the requirements that you're going to deliver in that release. It's equally important to decompose those requirements down into lower level tasks so that you can track the status and the progress of each one of the tasks associated with the requirement. How does all this work with ALMComplete? Using our tool, you'll be able to do that. We'll first start here in the releases area. Let's imagine that we just finished up a sprint and we wanted to create a new sprint to have some additional features. As you can see, this order application has a release and we've already delivered one sprint as well as a build. We're going to add another sprint here. I'll do that by pressing the plus sign, and I'll choose to add an iteration. I'm going to call this sprint 2. I'll give it a status of in progress, and I'm going to lock in my deliverable dates. We're going to start this and we're going to do a 1-month sprint. Once we've identified that, we can also assign the sprint to our project manager or our scrum master. Then we can also describe the goals of the sprint. Here you've seen that I've identified that in this sprint we're going to write. As you can see, we've identified in this description here. As you can see in the description, we placed that we're going to actually, as you can see, we've described here that this sprint is going to add some reporting capabilities. The reason I like to describe that here is we can create some release reports later on that will have that descriptive information there. Okay, once we're done, we press submit. Notice that we now have a release with 2 sprints. The next thing we'll want to do is we'll link our release to our requirements. The next thing we'll want to do is link our requirements back to the release. To do that, we'll come over to the releases area of the requirements and we'll drill into sprint 2. From there, the next thing we want to do is tie our requirements back to this sprint 2 of the release. To do that, we'll come into the requirements area and we'll set ourselves to all releases so that we can see all requirements. We'll then navigate to the folder that contains all of our reporting items here, and then we'll link these to this specific release by clicking on traceability. The next thing we want to do is we want to tie some requirements to this release. To do that, we'll simply go into this sprint. We'll come down to link items and we'll choose requirements. Since this is going to be since in this release we're going to work on reporting, we're going to choose the reporting folder. Then we'll select all 5 of these requirements to be included in this sprint. Then we'll select all 4 of these requirements to be included in this sprint. We can now see that those items are linked. From this listing screen, you can also see that the sprint now has these 4 requirements. Another way to double check this is go to the requirements area. From the requirements area, going over into the releases area, drilling down into this release and this sprint. From here, we can see that these 4 items are going to appear in that sprint. At this point, we'd like to take those requirements and break those down into tasks and put those on a project plan. To begin that, we'll go into the project management area. Notice that we do have a sprint 1 plan, but we don't have a sprint 2 plan, so we'll add one. We'll press add new plan. Here we'll give it a name. From here we'll give it a name. We'll also lock in the burn down starts and the burn down end dates. We're going to start this today and we're going to have it work for a month. And we're going to work this for a month. Next, we'll actually use our project plan wizard to create the plan. While we're at it, we'll go ahead and link this plan to our release. Then we'll press continue. From here, we'll tell it that we want to add the requirements to this release. So we'll come here and we'll tell it that we're looking for any requirement that's already tied to sprint 2. And it found 4 of those. We'll now press submit. We'll now press next page and it'll build the plan for us. Notice it's now built the plan and it's automatically linked this back to that sprint. Now I can take these requirements and break those down into individual tasks. To do that, I'll press the plus sign, I'll indent underneath it, and then I'll add each one of my tasks. Since I've numbered our requirements in a since we've numbered our requirements with the mnemonics, I can also utilize that as I'm putting in my task information. As you can see, I've created each of the individual tasks underneath the requirement. I've also provided some estimates, and finally I've assigned those to various people on our team. I'll now press Save. Now the view you're looking at here is more of the Scrum Master or Project Manager view. Your team members can actually see their tasks on the team task board. From here, it automatically selects the release you're working with, and you can choose a team member. For example, these are all of Steve's tasks. If I want to look at all of Rick's tasks, I can very easily toggle over to Rick. If I want to see everyone's tasks, I can choose all here. I'm going to look at Steve's tasks, and in this case, Steve worked on this particular item, and he wants to, in this case, Steve's worked on this particular hour. In this case, Steve has worked on this item, and he wants to post some hours. To do that, we'll press Post Hours. From here, you can tell it how many hours you worked. Maybe he worked 3 hours on it. He still has 1 hour remaining. He can also describe what he worked on. Once done, he can press Submit, and it'll post those hours. Once you go back to the team task board, you'll see that it has moved from the to-do list to the in-progress list. If you're doing daily stand-ups, sometimes you want to look at other people's tasks and log time on their behalf. You can easily do that by choosing a particular person and then logging tasks directly and logging time directly from here. Let's do that for Rick. As we can see, this has now been moved in progress for Rick. When it comes to analysis, you can come to the dashboard and look at your project plans, and you can look at burn downs, you can look at estimated hours, you can look at velocity, and you can look at slipping tasks. If you want a little higher view, maybe at the release level, you can also go to the releases area and look at dashboards there. From here, we can also see velocity for this sprint. We can also see resource allocation. This will show you every person that's working on the sprint, as well as how many hours you've estimated versus how many hours they've logged versus how many hours are reporting they have remaining. You can also look at progression, and then finally you can look at release burn downs as well. When using the project management area, there's also some additional features that you may not be aware of. For example, you can specify people's working time. For example, you can specify people's working time. You can do that by pressing the working time area. This will allow you to choose a resource, and then you can choose how many hours a day they work. You can also choose their vacation time. If you want to apply holidays to everybody on your team, you can use the standard calendar to do that. If the tasks in your project are pretty common between projects, you can create task templates. Task templates allow you to very easily create project plans based on a series of tasks. You can also move tasks from one project plan to the other. You can do that by pressing the Fast Edit button. If you've developed your project plan in Microsoft Project, you can also use our Microsoft Project plugin to import tasks or export tasks. In addition to the dashboards that were shown earlier, there's a number of reports that will help you from a project management perspective. Once you scroll down to the project management area, you'll see that there's Gantt charts. There's also project plan task index cards. You'll see project profitability, release reports, resource allocations by assignee, and variance reporting as well. If you need to report on timesheets or time tracking, there's also a number of different timesheet reports. One of my favorite reports is the release report. From here, you can choose a release. Let's look at Sprint 2. Once this report renders, it'll show you all the key details of the release. It'll show you a description of the release. It'll show you percentage complete, estimated hours, actual hours, remaining hours. It'll show how many project plans and tasks you have. It'll show how many requirements and tests you've defined, as well as how many defects have been discovered. It'll then show you all of your requirements in a nice formatted list. Next, it'll show you any run activity on those requirements. It'll show you how many things have passed, how many things have failed. If you've discovered any defects, it'll show you a complete defect list as well. Finally, it shows you all of your tasks that you worked on during that particular release. It'll show you those tasks as far as percentage complete, estimated hours, actual hours, and who it was assigned to. We hope you enjoy the project management features. Thank you.